Devy Degens, welcome back to another episode of the Devy Scouts. I am SC Romero. That is Tom Harvey. We are going to talk about our hot takes, of course, some rising prospects, and some positional battles on this week's episode.
Breaking down the hate, man, we call it like we see it. Finding all the gems while the rest just sleeping. Freshmen to the league, we ahead of the curve. Picking out the next star, put them on the reserve. From the big time schools to the deep cut finds. Gotta know who's next when it's draft day time. Stock rising, playmaking, watch them ball out. Devy Degens, yeah, no doubt. Yo, it's time to talk the future Devy style. Prospects rising, diamonds shining. Only the real ones grinding. Welcome to the Devy Degens, let's go. Let's go!
Picking out the next star, put them on the reserve. That's a great quote for this week's episode because we're actually going to talk about some 2026 seniors this week, just to get people a little bit hyped, right? Trying to pick out those next stars, and like we said, get them on the reserve. Are you in any deep Devy leagues where they're actually like you can draft some high school players in your Devy leagues?
I haven't gotten into any ones that you're able to draft high schoolers yet. To me, I don't really want to touch that too much, just because sometimes you just never know how these guys are going to come in.
Oh yeah.
So I mean, you're going to have certain guys who kind of drop.
Oh yeah.
Whose stock kind of drops during their senior year, and then you're just going to have some guys who are like, where'd they come from? So
right. 100%.
I'd rather wait until they're incoming freshmen before I draft them.
For sure. No, that's fair. I'm in a couple where it gets pretty deep, and there's some guys that I thought I was like a DJ, and these guys are over here like drafting sophomores. I'm like, bro, how are you watching this tape? Like, where's the tape at for these guys?
Well, it's like the one me and you were in together. We started it up last year, and somebody took Bryce Underwood in in like the 4th round or something like that. I was like,
for sure.
Whatever, man. I mean, we know he's the number one player, and player in the country. So maybe that's a safe pick. But talking about drafting some running back, who's a junior in high school, you're like,
for sure,
I'm good.
Hey, the benefit is though, if they pan out, hey, you got them really early. The downfall is in Devy leagues, you have to wait at least 3 seasons before they can even touch your pro roster, right?
So it almost feels like wasting a pick too, because then you're like, there's guys that I know are going to be something now,
right,
that are 2 years out, not 5 years out,
For sure.
So
now, what we need to do is start a deeper Devy league where it's a C2C Devy league. So your Devy is the high school players, and that way you get them when they go to college. That'll be something interesting if you can start doing that.
Man, I still don't know if I want to get into that. IDP is where I kind of draw the line with C2C.
There you go. IDP gets a little crazy too, especially when you talk about college, and you get crazier stats than you do in the pros when it comes to IDP sometimes. So, but speaking of crazier things, we're in the kitchen always, so we're going to talk about some hot takes this week. I only got a couple before we get into some questions here, but Tommy, I'm going to let you start us off this week with the hot take. Tell me your first one here.
Yeah, man. My first take of the week is Texas will not have a 1,000-yard running back in 2025. I know that sounds kind of crazy, but if you look at what they got, Trey Wisner, CJ Baxter, Jarrett Gibson, even Arch Manning is going to run the ball. Right. They're all going to combine for over 2,000 yards for the season. Right. But it's going to be spread amongst the 4 of them. I don't think they're going to have 1,000 yard. I don't think they're going to have a guy go over 1,000. They might have somebody, 950 or whatever, but I don't think they go over 1,000.
I'm glad that you said that, because I feel when there's a lot of people that stat scout, meaning they see the stats and like, oh, this doesn't happen, this is what it is. But with a team like this, you don't need those 1,000-yard rushers. Granted, 1,000-yard looks nice. Whenever you talk about Taj Brooks at Tech, right? 2 back-to-back 1,500-yard seasons, looks great on paper for sure.
And everybody else behind them, so
right. So you have guys that this could actually do better for them as Devy prospects. When you talk about Gibson or Baxter or Wisner, it could do better for them because it actually allows them to get more rest. You're not utilizing them to get that full workload. And as you know, in the NFL, the running back position comes of a lesser value, especially if you're someone that kind of took the heavier bulk load as a true freshman all the way to your junior senior year, because it's like you have wear and tear on the tires, right? So you have a team like Texas that's built up with multiple people that could run the ball, including your quarterback now, that this can actually do well for them as far as getting to the pro. So you even have someone, if two of them come out and have, say, 900, like you said, 950, and say someone else has 800, 750, that's an excellent duo. That's almost like your Arian Foster, Ben Tate days back in the day, where they both dominated, for the Texans. You have that great chemistry, and you can do it. Now, they are in the SEC, but we do know they have the talent to make it. We saw Wisner come out last year doing it. Baxter's been battling with injuries, so he's still a top prospect, but we need to see what he can do as a healthy prospect, because if not, I still have Baxter ahead as far as the Texas RB ranks. But if not, I think Wisner could easily go above him, just because of, if he's healthy, right? If everyone else stay healthy, I think that could happen if Baxter continues to struggle with his health.
Yeah, if Baxter doesn't come back fully healthy and just ends up being a guy, I actually think Jarrett Gibson's probably the better prospect than the others if Baxter's not healthy.
For sure. And I know it'll be last year too. It was like, man, this is gonna be Baxter's year. Jadon Blue came out, did well. You had Wisner do well. Baxter got injured, so this has to be a great season for him, to just increase that. We were just talking about with the high school athletes. We see it time and time again. I brought up Branson Robinson on last week's episode, where they look great as high school athletes, but then they just can't get over that hump of injury, so it becomes detrimental to them.
Not only Branson Robinson, but Roderick Robinson the same way.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Both of them hurt.
Yep. All about the Robinsons, man. Hopefully they get healthy. Branson, dude, if he gets healthy, he was in high school benching or squatting like 800 pounds or something like that. Something crazy. I think it was 720. I was over exaggerating, but still, he's a crazy prospect when he was in high school. And if he gets healthy, man, it's unfortunate Nate Frazier's there now, because Nate Frazier looks great too. But my hot take here, CJ Campbell Jr. will have 1,000-yard season as the lead back at Rutgers. This kid is a beast. I don't think he's had over 1,000 yards yet, 840 last year, but 78% of his yards have came after contact. Rutgers does have a hole with Mangani going to the pros now, so Campbell can hit that home run speed. He knows how to get between your tackles, and he can be there every down back at that next level as well. So I feel he's gonna have a great season this year. And it's someone that, for your C2C leagues, I would definitely target him, because I think he could definitely help your running back room for sure.
Yeah, definitely. Rutgers is going to lean on the running backs there. They have another guy. I can't remember his name, but he's going to pick up a lot of that slack left by Kyle Monangai also. So you're going to have CJ Campbell. You're going to have I know you're going to have another guy or two step up in that backfield also.
Yeah, and running backs. Rutgers is one of those teams that I feel is always underrated. They always have a solid defense. They always have strong defenders, especially at the line. Let me rephrase that. Underrated in the trenches. They always have a strong offensive line. They always have a strong defensive line. I think they have complete monsters on both sides of the ball there. Guys that could get to the quarterback, guys that can, fill the gaps to stop the run on defensive side. And then they have some big guys up front to just bring up the holes for the running backs, making it smoother and easier for your running backs to gain 5 to 10 yards almost on every single play. It feels like they just always have strong competition there when it comes to their running room, in my opinion.
Yeah, the other two guys I was thinking about are Samuel Brown and Antoine Raymond.
Raymond's nice. I like Raymond.
Yeah,
it'll be interesting.
Well, and that's Samuel, a couple years ago, there was a lot of people speculating that Samuel Brown was going to be the guy, but it ended up being Monangai. So
yeah. And there's definitely this is what we're talking about, positional battles. Right now when we're talking about these guys, these are speculations, because they still gotta compete, and that's what's the beauty about going into this spring and the summertime. We're gonna see a lot of competition go, and we don't know who's necessarily starting day one. There's a few that we're like, all right, you got your spot, you're locked in, but there's also a lot more where these positions battles are happening, and it's like we really don't know who is starting. And granted, if this guy looked great last year, doesn't mean he has the rock this year. It could be someone else came in from the transfer portal, and now you're competing against this guy, and now it's even more competitive for you. So there's a lot of things that can happen between now and the start of the season, but that's why we're here, right? That's why you're tuning into Devy Degens, so you can follow along and see exactly what we're doing here. Tommy, I know you have one more take. Let's hear it for you.
Oh yeah, man. One of my absolute favorite wide receivers. I'm probably higher on him than what a lot of people are, but I see something extremely special in this guy. I think Mekhi Lemon is poised for a huge season at Southern Cal. Whenever I watch him, I think Amon-Ra St. Brown. Very similar size, very similar style of play. Both are very good in that underneath intermediate. Mekhi Lemon can actually show some burst though too. He averaged over 14. I think 14.7 yards per catch last year. In a pretty mediocre USC offense.
Yeah,
Now
for
that
sure.
they've kind of nailed down what their quarterback situation is with Jade Mayava taking over, I think Mekhi Lemon's in for a big season.
Yeah, we also know Deuce Robinson's gone, Zachariah Branson's gone. They trust in him to be, hey, you're our
Yeah.
guy now. Or at least maybe not they trust in him, but those wide receivers left knowing, hey, this guy Mekhi Lemon took my spot to shine. I need to get out here and get that spot again. You brought up Amon-Ra. I went back and watched his tape. He reminded me of Zay Flowers. I know they're a little bit different, but as far as his running abilities, Zay Flowers ran with like pure aggression, and I see that with Mekhi Lemon as well. Where Amon-Ra, he's a little bit more fluid, he's a little bit more agile, I feel like. Where Mekhi Lemon, he can get in and out of his cuts, but he's a little bit more aggressive, a little bit more firm when he's stepping into the ground to make those cuts. And then, like you said, he has that speed that he can catch the ball and go as well. So he's definitely a playmaker, and I think he can be one of the top, wide receivers this year in the Big Ten for sure.
Yeah, my comparison with him and Amon-Ra are basically their kind of style, the way that they kind of run those underneath routes. But like I said, Lemon can also torch you deep too. So
yeah, and lots of mention. I mean, there's I can't pinpoint the game it was, but he had that crazy one-handed catch, and it's like, I mean, he, if you're playing Madden, he has that spectacular catch rate of like 99. It feels like, because he can go up there and get it and make some big plays. So it's definitely someone for Maeva to be a huge fan of, and he could definitely elevate to, at least push the ball down the field. It seems they kind of struggled last year with doing that, so it'll be interesting seeing him, just to get, like you said, beat the secondary downfield, get into open zones, but also his field awareness is pretty great, right? He knows where he needs to go to find the open zones and make the plays that he needs to do to move the chains. So that's what makes him exciting to watch, and he definitely is poised for a big year. So I enjoy that one there. I know when we're talking about these prospects, it's always about how can we make the best out of it, meaning how can we make some money off of it? What are you doing right now when it comes to drafting to get a little bit extra dough in your pockets?
Yeah, man, head on over to Fast Draft. You don't have to wait on your rookie drafts. You can go ahead and, get your taste there. You can start building your portfolio. Go on over to Fast Draft, enter in our promo code DEGEN, DEGEN, and get a $25 deposit.
Let's go ahead and hear a little bit more about Fast Draft from our sponsors.
Rookie. It's all about rookie talk in fantasy football right now, so why not go use all that knowledge to do something other than a mock draft? Chris Gimino won $8,000 with just 2 teams last year, and each draft took 5 minutes. That's pretty good ROI. You can start doing rookie drafts for money today on Fast Draft. The Origins tournament is live. It is the place to go and monetize your knowledge of rookies, and use your favorite player profiler host promo code for a $25 deposit match. Now let's go start drafting faster.
Let's go start drafting faster, man. Like I said, if you can win, what did he say, 10 minutes, won 8K? I mean, shit, I need that job. Whatever that job is, that's what I need, So that'll be phenomenal there. We went into our hot takes here, but let's go into, our Q&A. We have some questions for ourselves, and then we have the answers as well. And then we'll dive into what the listeners were asking us as well. But I have one for you, Tommy. Based on Tootin had a great, combine, had a very fast one. Is he the next Devy Achane? I'm gonna ask you that first. Is based on Tootin the next Devy Achane?
I don't think so. He's quite a bit bigger. He's 6 foot, 5'11", 6 foot, 210 pounds or so. Devy Achane's 5'8", 185. just the size alone, Tootin is just much bigger. And for Tootin's sake, I hope he's not the next Devin Achane, because Devin Achane's always hurt.
For sure.
So, I don't necessarily think Tootin is a top 5 running back in this class. I think he's kind of more in that RB10 range.
For sure.
So people were trying to target Devin Achane, in the first round whenever he was coming out.
Right.
I'd probably look at late second, early third for Tootin, and really depending on landing spot, honestly.
That's fair. Because that actually led into the second part, as would you take that first round capital on him? It's hard on with Devin Achane, we kind of knew it. He was a little bit more fluid in his cuts, a little bit more agile. He does have the speed based on Tootin, but at that same time, yeah, like you said, I'm not using a first round pick unless a team goes high on him and say a team gets him in the second. Then it's like, all right, maybe they have some faith in him. Maybe we can do that. But even then, I mean, we're still not taking them over I would say the consensus top 5, right?
He's
at least one out of that. So
yeah, he's definitely not a top 5 guy.
Right.
Like I said, you're probably looking at more in the RB 9, 10, 11 range, honestly. Just because this is such a stacked class for running backs.
Right.
It's just hard for me to see him being getting the draft capital over some of these other guys.
Let me ask you this: would you take Devy Degens over Tootin?
Absolutely.
Would you take Devin Neal over Tootin?
Yes.
Would you take RJ Harvey over Tootin?
Yes.
All right. Those were just off the top. So like you said, it's a deep running back class. So I was like, just trying to
Dylan Sampson. I'd even take Taj Brooks over him.
There you go. Hey, I love me some Taj Brooks there.
I think they're better running backs. Looking at the way Tootin plays, I don't think he's a great running back. I think he's good, and I think he's serviceable. I think the others are better, just better overall running backs.
Yeah, I agree. I think he's more speed, and granted, he can get it. And he's gonna be one of those running backs where he can, let's say he gets like a 70-yard run. You're going to start him on the right week. I don't think it's going to be a consistent thing. I think he's going to be someone that comes in and, gets a breather room for the starting running back, and he can bust out like the 70-yard run. And you're like, man, I wish I would have started him. You start him the next week and he gets you 2 points. So
yeah,
you got to be wary on that. I don't think he's an every down back necessarily, but he could, especially if you're in deeper leagues, I'd roster him, but he's not someone I feel comfortable starting on a weekly basis.
No, he's somebody I would draft kind of later in drafts after those other running backs are taken, and then maybe kind of hope to stash him on a taxi squad or something.
And then sell him high when he gets that big play. You're like, oh, he just put up 30 fantasy points because he had 2 monster TD runs, and it's like, all right, I'm going to try to sell him, right? So,
right. I mean, the question I have for you, would you rather have Tootin or would you rather have Audric Estime? See, two different style of running backs, right?
Yeah.
And Estime is not running away from anybody, but he's probably the better pure running back, right?
Yeah.
And you're having to kind of fight with yourself. Do I keep Estime on my roster?
So Estime, I wasn't that huge a fan of Estime. I know he got a lot of buzz on him, but like you said, he wasn't really running away from anybody. So when you said that, I started thinking, okay, what if Tootin goes to Denver? Who would I rather draft? Who would I rather have my teams? It'd be Tootin, because I feel Tootin will give them more versatility in their offense. It would open up their offense a little bit more with his speed, where Estime is going to be really their goal line guy and the one that just tries to get the inches and stuff like that, where Tootin could be someone that kind of moves around and opens up and gets bigger plays for them. So if he does go to Denver, I'd rather have Tootin over Estime. But as you mentioned, Estime is the more pure runner. But in that situation, I'd rather have the guy that's speed. And like I said, I hope I'm not in that situation where it's like he's my starting running back, but I'd rather have him in that stage for sure.
Right. You're just kind of playing a little bit of devil's advocate there. Like, who would you rather have? This, guy, a guy who would struggle to be on your roster,
right,
or Tootin. So.
And I think that was a fair question, because I feel if that happens, a lot of people will be in that predicament. Like, well, is it Estime's backfield because he's been there for a year now, or do we go with Tootin, the new, fresh, shiny toy in a sense? And like I said, especially with that offense and what they might be looking to do, maybe Tootin fills that like Kamara type of role, where it's like they just kind of utilize him around the field. They can't do that with Estime, in my opinion. They could do that with Tootin, but they couldn't do that. Hopefully they go after RJ Harvey instead. Like you said, I'd rather take him too. But that will be a big part if he does go to a team that has someone like an Estime, where it's like you're not really a home run hitter. Maybe two and is, then you start questioning like, okay. But to your point earlier, where you said you take him in a late second, that doesn't move him up for me. Like I'm not like, oh, he's in Denver now, moving up to early second, back in at first. He's still back in second, early third for me too.
Right.
So I like that.
Another question for you, kind of taking it blindly because neither one of them have a landing spot right now.
Right.
Tootin or Cam Akers?
Tootin, man. It's hard for me to get on. If Akers didn't get hurt, that's a whole different story. But because of his injury past, I'm out on Akers completely. I mean, that's just he hasn't done it.
He played well in Minnesota this past season, so
yeah, but I don't think he's a full time. I'd rather take the shot on Tootin to think he's full time. Like Akers is someone where if he has a great game, I'm trying to sell him out the gate because I'm fearful that he may get injured again, and that's I guess a horrible thing to think about. But it's like that I've seen it where he just hasn't looked the same since his injury. Because before that, he was looking like, okay, this could be a great running back. Got injured, hasn't looked the same. Where Tootin, he has a big game. Even if he has a bad game right now, he's still healthier in my eyes. So I'd rather take him in that sense. But that's a fair question because I know a lot of people are still high on Akers too. So good question. Go ahead. I know you have a question for me. Go ahead and ask that one.
Oh yeah. Would you rather have shares of Ty Simpson or Austin Mack?
All right, so for
that Alabama offense.
Yeah, so for people that don't know, like I said, that is the Alabama offense. Would I rather have shares of Ty Simpson or Austin Mack? The real answer is neither. I'd rather have shares of Keelan Russell, who's the freshman quarterback going in there. Keelan Russell looks like a great prospect. He's coming in here. He's very agile. He knows how to move. He throws with precision. But your question was Austin Mack or Ty Simpson. I'm going to go with Austin Mack. Reason being is Austin Mack was a Kalen DeBar guy. He was recruited by him in Washington. DeBar left after he went to the Natty with Washington to Alabama to replace Nick Saban. Now, Austin Mack ended up going with him. Unfortunately, he had Jalen Milroe. Milroe is a fantastic athlete. Look great. It's like, okay. Ty Simpson, I feel, is a little bit more athletic, but he has some wobble to his throws. Austin Mack's like 6'5", 6'6", has great size, your prototypical quarterback size. He has a fantastic arm. The athleticism isn't as fluid as I think Ty Simpson is, but as far as a quarterback and what I think a pro quarterback can be, Austin Mack. I think Austin Mack, if he is the starter, if Keelan Russell doesn't go in and compete with him, but I think he will, and I think he's going to push him to say, hey, if you don't make the starter, you make some hiccups, I'm coming in and take your job. Where I think already in my eyes, the quarterback competition there is between Austin Mack and Keelan Russell. Ty Simpson is kind of I know Ty Simpson's arguably the starter going into this season, but I feel Mack or Keelan Russell are the better ones. But who would you go with?
I would say the same thing, Austin Mack. I've seen Ty Simpson play, wasn't impressed. You remember a couple seasons ago whenever Jalen Milroe got benched and they went to South Florida and almost lost that game? Mm-hmm. Ty Simpson was the starter in that game that they almost lost to South Florida. He looked terrible. I just don't think Ty Simpson has it. I think, and we haven't seen Austin Mack play, so we don't really know. All we're doing is going off of film we've seen from high school, and tons of guys look good in high school film. But being that Kalen DeBoer chose to bring him with him from Washington, kind of goes to show you that he thinks Austin Mack can play. Right. Otherwise, he wouldn't have brought him with him.
And that's a big argument for me is why I choose Austin Mack. But now it's also like, all right, Austin Mack was DeBoer's guy, but now also Keelan Russell is DeBoer's guy too. So that's what I'm saying. There's more competition. I know 247 Sports.
Yeah, there's been a lot of reports coming out so far this spring that say Austin Mack is really pushing for that starting job.
Oh yeah, as he should be. I mean, I think Milroe was the unquestioned starter, right? I think again, phenomenal athlete. I think it's great, but as he should be, Austin Mack should have been. If Austin Mack stayed in Washington, he was the starter, in my opinion, right? But he chose to go with the coach they're recruiting, which is fine. And there are reports early, like we said, there's a lot of positional battles happening. There are reports early that Mack is doing what he needs to do. As far as Keelan Russell, 247 Sports does have him compared to Jaden Daniels I don't necessarily see that, only because Jaden Daniels has a little bit more oomph in his throws. He can a little bit more firepower when it comes to his deep throws and his accuracy. I see a little bit more Lamar Jackson. I say this slightly, like I don't want people to say, "Oh, he's next Lamar Jackson." I'm not saying that. But when you look at the games, Keelan Russell throws those darts like a Lamar Jackson does. He has the athleticism like a Lamar Jackson does, as far as running the ball and getting out the pocket and things of that nature. So I say that in the sense that I would compare him closer to a Lamar Jackson than I would a Jaden Daniels, because I see different throwing mechanics in it, and I see it closer to Lamar Jackson for it. Will he become that? Who's to say? But I do think the talent is great there, and I think he could do great things. But if Austin Max is pushing for it, this is a quarterback battle where if you win it, it's like, bro, go take it. Like it's up in the air. So it's really, if Austin Mack is doing great right now in camp, it's his to lose, right? It's not necessarily it's his to gain right now, but it's also his to lose to a freshman, right? A freshman at Alabama, that'll be crazy. Austin Mack has essentially, been in the league, college for now this is his third year, Washington, Bama. So, but he did redshirt freshman year, I think, right? Because I was behind Penix.
Well,
so
he also reclassified.
Yeah.
He came in a year early. So what would have been his senior year ended up being his redshirt freshman year. But yeah, this will be his third season with Kalen DeBoer.
Yeah, and I think he just had that kind of chemistry that's going to be great for him. So I'm excited to see it. And honestly, with Mack and his throwing power, I think that's going to be phenomenal for Ryan Williams, right? We talk about Williams having a great season or looking great as a freshman. Now he's got a quarterback that's actually going to push it to throw, and not necessarily – he's going to be more of a pocket passer, in my opinion. He can escape the pocket, but he's going to be more of a pocket passer, said, hey, receivers, get open. I'll make sure you get that as well.
Well, he'll also have a quarterback that has some accuracy.
Right.
Jalen Milroe had none.
Yeah, we saw the spectacular catches that Ryan Williams did, right? It's because Monroe was a little bit off target. He's a little bit an inch, 2 inches, a little bit off. You see, Ryan Williams having to dive back and get that catch, right? So those little things play a difference, and I think that's gonna be huge for him. So that's a quarterback battle I think we're both watching very closely.
Yep.
I have a question for you now, though. So when it comes to positional battles, Ole Miss running back, the starting running back, or the best running back for Ole Miss this year is going to be Kewan Lacey. Do you say yes or no on
that? Probably. Just because you got Logan Diggs who's there, but Logan Diggs was hurt all season last year. Didn't play. Came over from Notre Dame where he was hurt a lot, barely played.
Right.
He was good when he played, but didn't play often.
Right.
Then they got so Kewan Lacey is probably going to be the guy by just default.
Right.
Coming in from I believe it was Missouri.
Yep.
He didn't get any run last year, mainly just because they had the two guys that were in front of him, Noel and who was the guy that transferred there from Georgia State. I can't remember his name now. But he was behind those guys and never really got a whole lot of run. But a guy you probably should look out for is going to be a true freshman, Shakai Mills Knight.
Yes.
He's out of the Chattanooga area, which is about an hour away from where I live. And he's a big guy. They're going to have, if they do a kind of a split share there, it's going to be very much kind of like a thunder and lightning type of situation with him and Kewan Lacey.
100%. I think Kewan Lacey has what you want in a powerful runner. He has speed. He has agility to make the plays and make good open field decisions. Shaquille Mills Knight, when you talk about him, he's a bigger guy, and I can see him getting a share where he can have 350 yards as a true freshman. Like, I think Lacey could be it. And I'm saying that because I think Knight will get some field opportunity because of his pass protection abilities, because of his big body frame. He is someone that's going to be easier to get in front of those defenders and make those blocks for the quarterback, which will do very well for him, in my opinion. I think that's something that you want to watch him. I'm targeting Lacey more, but when you go into your deeper, we talk about your deeper Devy leagues or anything like that, your later rounds. So Kim Knight is someone I would take a shot on because I think he does have some playmaking ability that can do it. His speed's not 100%, but he's still someone that's going to power through. He's going to get through some defenders. And as I mentioned, when it comes to the pro aspect of it, if you can't pass block, that knocks you tremendously. If you get laid out every time you're trying to get a pass block or picking up a blitz, that's going to knock you down the draft boards tremendously. Shaquille Mills-Knight is someone that I feel can go out there and make those blocks, which will automatically elevate him because it's going to be, hey, man, we just need someone that can pick up these blitzes from these edge rushers to give our quarterback more time. And he takes it with no fear. Like he's saying, hey, come right at me. I am going to block you, So that's something I think will be great for him. And as I said, I think he can hit 350 yards as a freshman over there at Ole Miss for him. So
yeah, I don't see that as being too far out of the realm of possibility. 350, 400 just kind of depends on what type of carries he gets.
Right. Yeah, it'll be great to see. I mean, Lacey, I think we'll go right with it. You brought up Diggs. Diggs just has to do it. I know he's a great runner, but like you said, injury's been the big thing. So that's why if he's healthy, sure, but he hasn't showed that he could be healthy. So that's why I'm just like kind of more so off of them, more so on Lacey. Our guy JT Orrs, this would have been a great episode to have him because he would probably talk a little bit more about K1 Lacey, as we know he's a Mizzo fan too. But those were our questions for each other. Now it is time to get into the mailbag. So as you know, if you leave the comments, if you leave questions in the comments on these episodes or ask us on X, we will answer them for you on the following week's episode. So we're going to get into the mailbag with our first question here, and I'll let you answer it first. But it's coming from our guy, Dooku, DEKKU25, on YouTube. He has two for us. So I'll let you answer the first one first. I'll get the second one first, and we'll both split it up here. Yep. But he says, do you guys have Jeremiah Love as RB1 in 2026?
I do, and it's actually by a pretty wide margin. I think everybody else kind of below him has either major questions or some red flags that people have been high on guys like Nick Singleton for a long time. To me, he's just way too inconsistent of a runner. Jeremiah Love has really good balance. He had one run last year that was just incredible where he got knocked off of his feet, spun around, still landed right back on his feet and walked into the end zone.
Right.
So he has incredible balance, good vision. He's got good enough speed. Speed doesn't bother me. It's not going to bother me with him at all. The only slight question I have with Jeremiah Love is, can he improve on his catching ability? It's not that it was bad. It just wasn't great.
For sure.
But he has the least amount of questions and red flags. So I have him as my overall RB1 in Devy.
That's fair, and I will agree with that. They can, but the transfer portal allows players to move around and get a better opportunity to showcase their skills. So Jeremiah Love is my RB1 right now in the 2026 class. However, I do believe that a transfer prospect that I've talked about him before, my guy Mekhi Hughes is now at Oregon from Tulane, can take over that role if he comes into Oregon and does exactly what he did at Tulane. Oregon is a more high-powered offense. It can explode. They have a new quarterback, and that's a whole different conversation with quarterback competition. But it looks like it's Dante Moore. They look like they'll be more explosive than what they were with Dylan Gabriel, and they're going to have a better running back in Mekhi Hughes than what I thought Jordan James was. I think Mekhi Hughes is a better running back than Jordan James. So I think this is an opportunity for Mekhi Hughes to take that role, and he could possibly become, by the end of the season, the RB1 of the 2026 class just by transferring. There's guys like Jency went out and he had a record-breaking Hall of Fame type of Heisman season at Boise State. He stayed at Boise State. He said, nah. You have Mekhi Hughes. He could have stayed at Tulane, but he said, hey, I'm going to go to a Big Ten conference. I'm going to go to a pristine college in Oregon University, and I'm going to showcase on a national level now what I have to do and what I can do at this next level. So I really believe by the end of it, Mekhi Hughes could be the RB1 in 2026. So you could possibly get him at a discount if he ends up being that.
Sure, and he got the bag while doing it because he got paid going to Oregon.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, he got some good Nike equipment too, I bet. So I mean, I'm all for it. It's like Mike almost, but like Nike, right? He puts on Nike cleats and now he's a different beast. So who knows what's to happen, right? Dooku though did have a follow-up question here, and this question is going to be, excuse me as I write this down here. He's asking, any chance Jordan Tyson is a wide receiver 1 in 2026? Now, this is something where Is there a chance? Yeah, hell yeah, definitely. Jordan Tyson has some phenomenal skills. You have Sam Levet there. This is going to be a different offense because you don't have Scalaboo now. So now you have Levet. For sure, they can explode into it. But his health has been the biggest concern, right? If he's healthy, I don't have a problem seeing him as wide receiver one, but we need to see him for a full consistent season because that's going to knock him, at least in my rankings, if he goes and misses a couple games here and there due to injuries. So can he be, or any chance Jordan Tyson, wide receiver one, 2026? 100%. But I still need to see more from him on the health level to say, all right, he's officially a wide receiver one. What are your thoughts there?
Yeah, I currently have him as my wide receiver one for 2026.
Okay.
Because I mean, look at it; it's a much weaker class than
Sure.
this year's class or the following year's class is going to be. So I mean, really, for the guys battling for that wide receiver one spot is Jordan Tyson, Carnell Tate, and Evan Stewart.
Right.
Evan Stewart had, he's had the opportunities, hasn't really put it together in the 3 years he's been in school so far.
For sure.
Now, being the number one guy at Oregon this year, he should. If he doesn't, then that's a major red flag.
100%.
Carnell Tate is going to slide into that wide receiver 2 role at Ohio State this year.
Right.
He's fighting to be that wide receiver 1 for next year's class.
Right.
But being behind Jeremiah Smith, how many targets is he going to get? Does he kind of move inside a little bit more to take over the Emeka Egbuka role? Who really knows, right? So for again, questions. Kind of like I said with Jeremiah Love and then the guys below him. There's questions. Jordan Tyson kind of has the least amount of questions to me, so he's my default wide receiver 1 for this class.
Well, we brought up, positional or positional battles as well. Jordan Tyson doesn't have the competition as far as, on his own team that Evan Stewart and Carnell Tate have, right? Evan Stewart has a true freshman coming in that a lot of people haven't ranked as number 1 in Decorian Moore. Then, you like you just mentioned, Carnell Tate has Jeremiah Smith, who was a true freshman last year and had a better season. He was the wide receiver 1 on the team last year as a true freshman. So now you have these guys that's like, hey, the competition is a little bit stronger for you. So now there's a little bit of difference. With Tyson, if he's healthy, there is no one in my eyes in that Arizona State that is taking over his role if he's healthy. Obviously if he's hurt, sure, but
also he has less questions at quarterback too. Sam Levitt is the unquestioned guy right there. We think Dante Moore is the guy, is that next guy up at I wasn't overly impressed with him his true freshman year when he was at UCLA. I've always thought he had a ton of talent. Hopefully he proves everybody right with showing it this year. Right. And then at Ohio State, Julian Sayin, is that going to be the starting quarterback there?
Tavion St. Clair,
Tavion St. Clair, yeah. So I mean, who really knows who's even going to be throwing the ball there right now? Right. So Jordan Tyson has the least amount of questions as far as depth, plus he has the least amount of questions as far as quarterback. So again, that's why he's my default wide receiver 1 right now.
That's fair. When you look at it that way, for 100%, it comes to those battles, and when you have a guy that already produced, it'd be different, like you mentioned with Dante Moore and Julian saying potentially being the quarterbacks. We don't know what they're going to do at this level as far as taking the full-time role. We know what Sam Levet's doing as a full-time quarterback at Arizona State, right? He did it last year, getting them the bye week in the playoffs. Now, if he gets his wide receiver 1 healthy all year, different.
Plus, Jordan Tyson has been the wide receiver 1 in that offense. The other 2 have not been.
Yeah.
So we know how Tyson operates as that wide receiver 1. We don't know how the other guys could.
100%. No, I love that. Let's talk about here. We have another one here. This is gonna be a long link. It's JR895 at JR895 NFL MLB, aka Jeff 8 on X, asked us, who are the best soon-to-be high school seniors to draft? So as I mentioned, we're going a little bit deeper here as far as the 2026 seniors, not 2026 class, 2026 seniors. So high school athletes that we're looking at to be excited to go into that 2027 year. So for me right now, I have a few here. I'm going to go with Messiah Minkins. He's a running back, Penn State commit right now. He displays great playmaking ability, both in the running game and passing game, can move all around. home run speed, shows good concentration, and maintains control after contact to push forward. He's patient and he has a solid vision. Penn State is producing running backs. I mean, right now you have Singleton and you have Katron Allen. Guess what? Behind him, you have Quentin Martin, right? So now I feel once these guys go and you're going to have someone like Messiah Minkins come in, and now you have Quentin Martin and Messiah Minkins, I think that is a recipe for success. I think they're doing great things with the running back room. That is someone I'm excited to see. Do you have any thoughts on Minkins?
Whenever he comes in, he's probably going to get automatic playing time just because Singleton
Right.
and Allen are both going to be gone. So it's going to be him and Quentin Martin. Penn State obviously looks to run the ball a lot. So we're
Right.
going to know pretty much, right off the bat, how good this guy is.
Right.
So yeah, I mean, I would definitely say that he's a guy to look at.
Yeah, especially like you mentioned. I mean, the only reason why Martin's not getting that same kind of playing time is just because
He's behind the
he
other
has
two.
Singleton. But I think it's his to take next and go for it. Talk to me about your first guy that's 2026.
Yeah, I've got Faison Brandon. He's the number one quarterback in the class. I think 24/7 has him as the number one overall player. He's committed to Tennessee. He's he's probably the next guy after Nico Iamaleava leaves. I know that I know George McIntyre is a freshman this year, but I think as soon as Faison Brandon steps on campus, he's the next guy after Nico.
Right.
Big time arm, big time talent. The guy can do everything. He was a North Carolina Gatorade Player of the Year. As a junior, he's probably going to be the same thing as a senior. The guy's unreal.
Yeah, I mean he's has the ability to bust it open on all kind of levels. He can hit every level of the field, and he's a playmaker that is a true dual threat quarterback. You mentioned Lavia being the next guy up. It's been hard to see some Tennessee games because the wide receivers haven't done their part, in my opinion, when it comes to what Lavia could do. Give this guy some wide receivers, it can happen. So you have someone that could comes in, Lavia leaves, and now you have Faison that can actually do some great things and do maybe what Lavia did just a little bit better. I mean, I think he's very agile and very athletic in his playmaking abilities. Like we just said, a lot of things can change, but I think everything's there for him right now to say, okay, this is a great prospect, and we need to keep our eyes on him as well. So I like that. I know you're all on the Tennessee guy, so great call out there, talking about him. But I'm going to bring up another one. This is, we talk about Ohio State already and Cardinal Tate and Jeremiah Smith. Cardinal Tate's likely leaving. I mean, he could stay, but he's likely leaving. So what does that mean? They're just bringing another guy, Chris Henry Jr., 6'4", 6'5". He's about to be a monster. You pair him opposite of Jeremiah Smith. He is a great big play guy. I mean, he missed majority of his junior season. It's okay. He has the capability to make nice movements, to get open. It's not like Ted McMillan. I actually like his moves a lot better. He has great catch radius, and he's someone that exactly. And not to mention, unlike Ted, his dad was a former NFL player, played for the Bengals. So that legacy, that bloodline is in him to find success and be great at that next level. Like I said, his catch radius is phenomenal. He's someone that just throw it up in the air. He can jump 10 feet and grab it. Don't take my word on it. It's not exactly 10 feet, but that's how it feels when you see him jump in the air. I mean, he's going out there and doing big things.
Dude's 6'5". He may be getting 10 feet in the air.
100%.
And if you go and look at his picture, he looks just like his dad. And his dad was a baller.
Sure.
I absolutely loved watching his dad play with the Bengals back in the day.
His dad was a defensive back, though, no?
No, he was a wide receiver.
Was he a wide receiver too? Okay. So that's even better then.
Played with Chad Johnson and TJ Hushmanzada.
There you go. And I think he's going to be, just your red zone target, right? Your third down kind of move the chains kind of guy. And you have someone like him that can, if you have him and Jeremiah Smith on both sides of the field, who are you going to cover? Because Jeremiah Smith has the athleticism to do it all, can break it down and beat the secondary. But then you have this guy that you have 3 defenders on him. He can snag over everybody. So I think that's going to be great for him right now. Who's your second guy?
Man, what is up with these Ohio State and LSU wide receivers, dude? Speaking of LSU wide receivers, I'm going to throw out another one. Tristan Keys just committed to LSU the other day. 6'2", 205. Guy's got the size, has the ability. 5-star wide receiver. I think he's the number one rated wide receiver in the class. The dude has it. And he's going to wide receiver U there at LSU, right? So he's the next one in line. So you think Odell Beckham, you think, Justin Jefferson, Jamar Chase, all
yeah.
these dudes, he's that next dude in line.
Yeah, no, I mean, I think that's the argument of time or the argument of generation. Who is wide receiver you? Ohio State or LSU? Because they both produce talent, and if you go there, that you're going to get recognized. It's not just because you're playing on national level. It's because you actually go and you compete, and they're going to challenge you every single play.
Yeah.
And right now, in my eyes, they got Nick Anderson, they brought in Barry and Brown, right? So I know they brought in some wide receivers, but still an open book as far as LSU and what the receivers.
Those guys will probably be gone by the time Christian Keys comes in. So
100%. And so now you have someone that it's gonna be a wide open book for him as far as all right, who's gonna take it, and now you have him in there. Granted, Nussmeier won't be there, but you still have the ability to just go out there and play. And as a true freshman, I think you can make a big impact on that team, especially LSU, to just take it, as you said, just kind of get the torch, being it passed on from them. As right now, I think it's kind of in the air. No one's taking that torch. We'll see what Aaron Anderson, or even Barry and Brown does, but still an open book as far as all right, who's really going to take it. But it could be no one takes it this year, and then we got to wait for Tristan Keys. LSU kind of waits a little bit too when they have their wide receivers come out. I know there is Chase and Jefferson, but it's a little bit, wait a year or two, and then you have another talented
Malik Neighbors this past year, that dude was, amazing.
Beast. And it's going to be something
on a terrible team with a bad quarterback.
Right. And now, speaking of wide receivers, I have one more. Ethan Feaster, Booby Feaster, 6 foot, 6'1", 175. He actually reclassified from 2027 to class of 2026. So that's why I have him there. If people are like, oh, he's 2027. He reclassified 2026. Already has over 50 offers as a I guess now a senior in Division I level. This kid is someone that has, I think, the best footwork in the class. I think he moves with great speed, great concentration, great precision in his cuts. If you go watch, just watch, when you watch his tape, just watch his feet. You're talking about watching a master at work. Just watch his feet. Like, I wouldn't be surprised if he's training with Route God. Like, he is just a phenomenal athlete. He is going to be a quarterback's best friend because he is always going to be open. I don't think anyone's going to be able to cover this kid. I think that's how great he is when he makes those moves, and he's going to be someone that is going to be a nightmare for defensive backs to even try to cover, in my opinion.
Yeah. Well, the good thing is with him being the height he is, 6 foot, 6'1", he can put on some more onto that frame. 175 pounds is a little slight, but
for sure,
put him in a weight room in college. That dude's gonna be 195 real quick.
100%. I mean, it is slight, but I mean, you have a lot more receivers coming out this day and age where they are like that. I mean, Garrett Wilson was a little bit slighter too, right? So I honestly think he moves a little bit better than Garrett Wilson. And that's saying a lot, because I really liked Garrett Wilson when he came out, but I think the footwork is, when it comes to me grading wide receivers and looking at wide receivers, it's the route running, but also their footwork. Like, what are they doing prior to making the cuts in the routes or anything? And he is just someone that boom, boom, boom. He's really quick with that. He's not hard stepping into the ground. His toes tap the ground, and he's already gone an extra 6 yards to the side, because that's how fast he is. So I absolutely love what he could do. And like I said, he hasn't committed quite yet, over 50 offers. So he is someone, if you have him, or if you're doing these deep Devy leagues, keep an eye on him and make sure you're watching where he's going to be drafted to.
Yeah.
I know you have one more senior to talk about.
I do. And he's not committed either yet. He's running back Savion Hyder. The dude is an animal, man. Just you watch him run, and it's violent, man.
Yeah.
Like, he's fast, he's physical and aggressive, and he's the total package at running back. Whoever gets him is getting a gem right there.
Yeah. And you talk about running backs that run with the pad level, run with their shoulders down. He is someone that goes straight through your tackles, and he busts it out though if he needs to, right? So he's someone that has that pure running capabilities to make a big impact. When it comes to running backs, as I talked about one earlier too, it's a little bit harder because they do need to go in that good spot, right? Because you have some teams that want to explode the running backs and put them outside. You have some teams that want the running backs specifically to run in the middle. But then you have some teams that say, hey, we want to utilize your strength, and we're going to help you build on your weaknesses as well. But if you have someone that has the schemes to say, hey, we just want to run up the middle and pound the rock down the field, down these guys' throats. That is someone that you want when you talk about your guy here in Savion, because I think he can definitely do that. And you talk about a guy that could be a power forward type of runner, it is definitely him, because I think he could be any conference. I think he'd go out there and dominate and potentially take the reign as a true freshman, just be great. So I
Depending on
love
where
that.
he went to, right? Yeah.
Yeah. There's some, obviously there's some depth there, but if he goes to the right spot, he can take the reins and just be the guy there. So I love that. So we do have another question here. This one's going to be from our guy, FF_Rebel, aka Jeremy. He asked, who are the top 3 wide receivers behind Jeremiah Smith and Ryan Williams? Arguably, those are the 2 top Devy wide receivers. Consensus, I feel, has that. But Tommy, who are your top 3 behind Jeremiah Smith and Ryan Williams?
There's actually several you're able to throw out here. Obviously, Cam Coleman is going to be right there with them. But I've got guys like Jordan Tyson, Carnell Tate, Evan Stewart,
Okay.
guys that are 2026 eligible. You watch them and you see the obvious talent there.
Right.
Jordan Tyson is the clear wide receiver 1 for Arizona State. He's been that.
Right.
So there, I don't have a whole lot of questions about him, other than possibly he had a shoulder problem. I think this past season. So as long as he comes back from that healthy, he's my wide receiver 1 for the 2026 class.
Sure.
Then you got Carnell Tate, big physical wide receiver, great hands, can run all the routes, can get in and out of breaks. He's going to step, really kind of step into that number 2 role at Ohio State, at Ohio State behind Jeremiah Smith, and then Evan Stewart. It should be his team at Oregon.
Should be.
He had such big expectations coming into college. Started off at Texas A&M. Didn't quite work out there. Transfers to Oregon.
Right.
Was the clear number 2 behind Tez Johnson last year.
For sure.
And there was no shot he was going to take over that wide receiver 1 role from him. So
Right.
we really need to see him grow into that wide receiver 1.
For sure. And you brought up, we talked about Tyson a little bit. Tate, you brought up, we talked about him. Stewart, same thing. Tez Johnson was the one. Oregon plays a really good system in the sense that they're next man up, where I do think Evan Stewart is his, so it is his job to lose, because they do have a top freshman, as I mentioned, DeCorian Moore coming in. So now you have someone that, hey, this is your role. And next guy will be DeCorian, but you have to be the guy that takes full control and be the wide receiver 1. Some guys you did mention that I do like behind him as well. Nick Marsh out of Michigan State. This is a guy that I really enjoy watching. Kind of reminds me of DK Metcalf. He's very strong, very built. He can go out there and get it. He has the speed to do it. Granted, he's at Michigan State, so that's going to knock him down because he doesn't have the quarterbacks that some of these other guys. I do like Aiden Childs, but I'm not taking Aiden Childs over some of the other programs necessarily. So that's where it's like, all right, you can watch it, but go watch his tape. He is someone that can be a very good asset when it comes to the NFL draft potentially in the next few years. Ryan Wingo out of Texas. I think, we talk about freshmen, Khalil Lockett, Jamie French. Jamie French is my wide receiver 1 in the freshman class, but you have these wide receivers. But I think Ryan Wingo, this should be his year too, especially with Jonte Cook leaving. I feel if Jonte Cook didn't leave, we would have thought, hey, this is someone that is poised for the wide receiver 1 because we really like his talent, but he's gone. Now I really enjoyed what I saw in Ryan Wingo, and you have a quarterback that's arguably the Devy QB1 in Arch Manning now as your quarterback. Ryan Wingo could definitely benefit from this and be a big playmaker for the team. Cam Coleman, another one. I'm saying more than 3, but these are guys. Cam Coleman out of Auburn. I mean, now he is Jackson Arnold there, right? So now you have someone that is going to want to throw the ball, and Cam Coleman is a physical type of receiver that he may actually rise to be the full wide receiver 3 behind Smith and Williams. Kevin Sopsion, someone else I have. I know he's a little bit smaller, but he came from a smart program. Now he's at Texas A&M, going into the SEC. Marcel Reed should be the quarterback there. This is his chance to say, hey, I have what it takes to play with the big boys because you're in the SEC now. Right. And if he goes in, shout out our guy Andy, who was on him as a freshman, if he goes in there and dominates as he has in the past at NC State, this is an opportunity for him to go in there and say, hey, I am a top prospect that you need to keep an eye on as well.
Yeah, a couple other guys that we didn't really mention there either. The Clemson freshman TJ Moore and Brian Wesco. And then you got guys like you got Mekhi Lemon at USC, Harrison 100%. Wallace at Ole Miss, Zachariah Branch going to Georgia. Maybe he steps into some type of Ladd McConkey role, and he can rise. if he becomes that type of Ladd McConkey type of guy.
Right.
I mean, Ladd McConkey killed it for the Chargers last year.
Right. And, just stay on the SEC. We talked about, Nussfire didn't really have a bunch of help, I feel like, with the wide receiver. They went out and brought in Nick Anderson, who's a nice field stretcher, and Barry Brown, who's a solid guy that could be your underneath player or be what Ladd McConkey was for Georgia in a sense, because he is that agile as well. So the wide receiver, we can talk on and on about who's the next guys, about the wide receivers. But these are prospects.
Let's also not forget Dane Key, transferred to Nebraska. Dylan Raiola is going to be slinging him the ball.
I appreciate the shout out, man. Denke is my guy. I've been on that guy since he was the freshman at Kentucky. This kid is 6'4", 6'5". Maybe at Combine he'll be 6'2", because they always exaggerate those numbers. Right. But still a go-getter. And now you have Raiola. You brought him up. Rayola's a top prospect too when you talk about quarterbacks, and he didn't have a wide receiver like Denke. I thought it was going to be Jamal Banks. It wasn't. Now he has someone that could be Denke. I'm glad. I am super excited that Barry Brown and Denke both transferred out to get themselves a quarterback. That was something they struggled with at Kentucky. They didn't have solid quarterback play. You have Garrett Nussmeier. You have Dylan Raiola. Watch both these wide receivers go out there and ball out and get them on your rosters, because I think big seasons are coming for both of them as well.
Man, Kentucky hadn't had a quarterback since Randall Cobb.
I love that. I mean, I was super stoked when they got Vandergrift too, man, because I was like, oh, Vandergrift can go out there. This is he's finally got wide receivers. He has, Macklin was there too in their slot, and it was like, oh, this could be a great year, and it just was not, man. I was super disappointed to see it. I was like, are you kidding me? This is not great.
Yeah, you go back 25 years with Kentucky quarterbacks. You're looking at Tim Couch, Jared Lorenzen, the hefty lefty.
Let's just say Lois talking about Vandergrift, and we're talking more about the wide receivers, right? So it says a lot about their quarterbacks. But now I'm excited to see what they can do and what they're doing there. Let's move on to our next one here. At Cambodian Milk on X asks, will Cade Klubnik be a top 10 pick drafted in 2026? That's what he signified. A top 10 pick drafted in 2026. Sorry, I rephrased that a little bit odd there. My thought there is, can he be 100%? Like I said, my hot take is Cade Klubnik has a phenomenal season, throws for 50 touchdowns, and goes out there, wins ACC championship, and we might see him in the Natty. Like you just mentioned, Brian Westco, TJ Moore, Antonio Williams. It's going to be a throwing year for Klubnik. It's going to be the year he proves himself and says, hey, I am the guy there. So I absolutely love what we're going to see from him. Can he be 100%? But will he be? It's going to be what this season has in hold, because I don't think he is right now. But I think he definitely can be. The quarterback class is deep next year. Next year is the year to draft your quarterbacks, in my opinion, assuming everybody comes out right. Arts could potentially stay. Dante Moore can potentially stay. You have all these quarterbacks that can stay an extra year. If they all come out, though, this is a very, very deep class. We know Klubnik is coming out. He is going to be someone that's coming out next year, if I'm not mistaken, right? He's fully eligible. Like he can stay. I think he's eligible till the ends. So if guys drop, then he can easily go in there. But it is a very deep quarterback class. And the answer right now is, will Cade Klubnik be a top QB drafted in 2026? At this point in time, if the draft was today for 2026 off of last season, the answer is no. But can he be? Yes. What are your thoughts?
Currently, I'd probably have him as QB 5 or 6 for that class. Just based off 2026 eligibility. You're looking at guys like Arch, Nico, Dante Moore. If those guys don't decide to come out, then you probably push Klubnik up to that 3 range, right?
Right.
Because he'd be coming out with guys like Drew Allar and Garrett Nussmeier, who would have battled to been the overall number 1 pick this year. With Cam Ward. So it's kind of hard to say that I would draft Klubnik over those guys. But Klubnik 100% has the intangibles, right? He's got good size, 6'2", 210, whatever he is. Right. He can run. He's got a good arm. Right. He sees the field. He's a good leader. And he was kind of put into a bad position with Clemson after his freshman year. Yeah. Just because the wide receiver play was horrendous. He was relying on Adam Randall and who was the guy who transferred to Notre Dame, Bo Collins.
Bo Collins,
Yeah, and those guys weren't it. But then his junior year, when he had guys like Bryant Wesco and Antonio Williams and TJ Moore and Jake Brenningstool, he was tearing it up.
Right.
And led his team to the college football playoff.
Right.
This year, they're looking at potentially a top 5 preseason ranking. So yeah, he could very much be in contention for the Heisman and put up a big year. And
Right.
he's probably going to test well also.
Yeah.
So I could see him as a top 10 draft pick next year if certain guys don't come out, if certain guys don't declare.
Right. I think that's the point there is like there's a lot of things that need to happen for it to make it, because right now it's not happening for him. I mean, we're not even talking about IDP guys that can take over the roles, right? Yeah, we got like Ruben Bain out of Miami that can be a great pick next year. So there's a lot of things that need to happen. Shout out Antonio Williams. Also, I feel the running game, is going to be completely different, right? A couple years ago, they had Will Sipley. Last year is Phil Maffa. Now
this year's probably going to be a freshman. So,
yeah,
I mean, Gideon Davidson, really, really good running back, but again, it's going to be a true freshman. So you never really know what you're going to get out of him.
Right. I say this with caution, but they can easily have the best wide receiver room this year when you talk about those three in Wesco, Moore, and Williams. There,
oh, man, it's tough to beat Ohio State's wide receiver room.
Always is. But that's what I'm saying. It could happen with Klubnik. But you have someone like Julian Sainz. Say Julian Sainz it. He's getting his feet wet, if you will, at the college level. Klubnik's been there, and Klubnik was a 5-star prospect coming out, was a QB1 of his class. The reason why I like him so much is because he has shown the development. Each year he is getting better. He is getting more confident in the pocket. He's getting more poised at this level, and we're seeing that progression. It's not wavering him down to say, hey, I didn't have a great season this season. I'm getting better each year, and that's where I'm very high on him, because I feel this year it's like, yo, I am the true leader. This is my team. I am the captain now, right? So it's like, take this in, and he's going to go out there and ball out. So I absolutely love that.
And he definitely took a jump his junior year. So he had a really good junior season.
For sure. Now, I know if you're looking for up-to-date info just on every position, look no further. Don't forget to check out Player Profiler, expert analysis, breaking down positions, talking what's happening in the NFL, like biggest free agent moves, and just so much more. Go ahead and check out Player Profiler today. Don't forget to use promo code DEGENS, DEGENS on Player Profile for $25 off your premium subscription. Don't forget that fantastic site. I absolutely loved it. One of my top sites when it comes to just looking at NFL knowledge. So go in there and get your Player Profiler subscription now. Now, before we go off, we're doing our My Guys at the end of every episode. So let's go ahead and get into it now with the My Guys here. So I write this down real quick. My Guys, we're going to do a tight end now. My guy for this tight end class in the 2025 NFL draft is Syracuse tight end Oronde Gadsden. I think this is an underrated guy. He's quick for a tight end. He's not, the fastest guy on the field, but he's quick for a tight end. But he is a really solid blocker, not only to block for the passing downs, but also someone that can run downfield, get blocks for your running backs as well, just to open up those lanes. He stands about 6'5". He has strength to go up there and win those contested catches. He is someone that is easily going to just go out there and dominate every single play of the field. That I absolutely love him, and I feel I'm going to have a lot of shares of him this season.
Yeah, he's converted wide receiver. So as soon as he stepped down into that tight end role, from being able to play outside, because that's what he was. He was an outside wide receiver. Slides down to tight end. He became an automatic mismatch. And then he kind of grew more and more into that role, like you said, being able to block, putting on good weight, muscle, to where now he is a solid tight end prospect.
100%. Yeah, I absolutely love him. I think he could do great things. He might be one that slips into round 3, but I think he might be a day 3 prospect. Who's your My Guy?
I actually have 2 of them here. I've got my first guy, Mason Taylor. Very typical, very prototypical possession tight end. He's not a burner, but he makes every catch. He runs routes really well. And he has the pedigree, right? His dad's Jason Taylor, Hall of Famer. He has that NFL pedigree to him. I think he's going to be a really, really good NFL tight end. Another guy that I really, really love, more of a seam route guy, can get you vertically. Elijah Arroyo out of Miami.
Nice.
That
Yeah.
guy, another guy who put on really good weight after coming into college, got hurt a little bit, but put on really good weight, looks the part, really played the part this past season too with Cam Ward at Miami.
For sure. Mason Taylor, I think he's a great all-around type of tight end prospect. I think he's going to do well. Like you say, he's going to be a possession wide receiver. So he's definitely going to be one that you want for fantasy teams, I feel like, because he's going to go out there and make some plays and be someone that's going to be used in the passing game as well. Elijah Arroyo, I loved him. I absolutely was a fan of him since he got into college. So I'm excited to see what he's doing at this pro level. I think I have him slightly less to what I would Gadsden and Taylor, but I think they're all in that same realm of that next tier of prospects that you're having behind Warren, Bannon, Loveland, as far as what I see consensus in the top 3 there. So I absolutely love them, though. But I think all those guys, they all have potential to be day 2, but I think they might go further. I think they might be the first picks in day 3 mostly. Just because I think a lot of people, there's going to be a lot of different, probably some IDP guys drop, into day 2. You're having some running backs that may get taken because they don't want to wait till day 3 to, try to get them. So
yeah,
you might have these tight ends get pushed back a little bit, but I think all these tight ends can be fantasy relevant. I think all of them could be 100% steals for you that you can possibly get some of them, round 3 of your rookie drafts instead of, late round 2.
Well, I mean, you look at the sheer number of running backs and wide receivers available in these rookie drafts.
Right.
Tight ends are definitely going to slide. So I mean, you're going to have your typical, Tyler Warren, Colson Loveland, Harold Fannin. Right. Then you're going to be looking at guys like Mason Taylor, Rondé Gadsden, Elijah Arroyo. Certain guys like Gunnar Helm.
Right.
Stuff like that. So, yeah, I mean, but you're going to be able to get them late.
Yeah. Yeah, I 100% agree. The tight end class is fun to keep an eye on this year. Tommy, that about wraps it up for our episode this week, though. I mean, always a pleasure talking ball with you. Ask us the questions. Don't forget, man, leave the questions in the comments. Ask us on X at Tom Harvey Sports, at the PPR. So on X, don't forget to follow us, man. We are always excited to engage with y'all. We're always excited to talk college ball. We're our Devy Scouts, man. We're looking at the college draft, and then we'll play our fantasy leagues and watch pro football too. But we're the Devy Scouts here at the Devy Degens and for Profiler Plus now. Until next time, we'll talk to y'all later. Peace.